Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's review we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Earthrise Paradron Medic 2-pack, Earthrise Ratchet and of course Deluxe Class Lifeline. Two very simple repaints, however in my opinion two very nice repaints. So without further ado we'll take a look first here at Lifeline and then we'll take an incredibly detailed look at the most anticipated figure out the set, that being of course the Earthrise Ratchet. And so kicking things off here firstly by taking a look at the Deluxe Class Lifeline, you can see that she simply is just a direct repaint to that of the Earthrise RC. However in my opinion a really nice repaint, and I actually do prefer the colour scheme on this figure than what we actually got with RC herself. Bringing Lifeline in for a closer look, you can see here that for the most part she has just been moulded in this really awesome almost bubblegum green like colour scheme. I think that it looks absolutely fantastic and I really do think that the white paint applications do complement it really nicely. You can see that there are no paint bleeds on this figure whatsoever, which is super cool to see. We do have the Autobot insignia there which looks fantastic. I love once again the sculpted in detailing as well as the translucent blue plastic that they have used. It's very similar to that of the plastic that we got on the Netflix Elita 1 and is nowhere near as smoky as what we got on RC. You can once again see all of the fantastic sculpted in detailing, and as we turn here to the rear end of the vehicle you can see that we also have got some ports here in order for you to apply some of the blast effects. As we turn her to the underside you can see that once again as she is just RC, the transformation and the way that she folds up is exactly the same. So in all a really nice looking figure. I won't cover her too much as I have already reviewed this mould basically 3 times now, but just bringing in her weapon, it is once again the exact same mould as RC, however this time has been cast in a very similar plastic once again to Elita 1. It is more translucent and definitely makes this weapon appear as if though it is holographic. There are 2 ways in which you can store it in vehicle mode. You can tab it here to the top of the hood if you so desire, or you can actually take it and peg it into the underside. You can see that we do have a tab here that the handle will just peg in there nice and securely. The figure does roll really well as well, which is fantastic. You just have to ensure that you do get the legs in the proper orientation so that they do not drag along the ground. So in all, a really nice looking vehicle mode here for Lifeline. And here for a mould comparison, here we have Lifeline compared to that of her mould mate, the Earthrise RC. And it is really here that you can truly see that these figures are just repaints of one another. The white paint applications have been applied in the exact same spots here on Lifeline as they were with RC. All they have merely changed is the actual base colour of moulded in plastic, but just giving you a quick side-by-side perspective. In my opinion, I just think that the colours work so much more nicely here on Lifeline than they do for RC. I'm not entirely sure what it was about RC, but she just had this very ugly, almost soap-like appearance. I still think that she's quite a cool-looking figure and is definitely faithful to her G1 counterpart, but it seems that every repaint we appear to be getting of this mould, I'm preferring that over the original release. But just in all, a really, really nice-looking figure here with the Deluxe Lifeline. Turning very quickly to transformation, as stated previously, I have basically reviewed this mould almost 3 times now. You're just going to want to pull the legs here out and then rotate the thighs so that they are now facing the proper orientation, and then we're going to come to this whole area here, disengage this tab and disengage this one, and we can begin to loosen up this whole back section. Take this tab and fold this all the way in and then just collapse that down, and of course repeat the same process. So just snap that nice and securely into place. We can then proceed to turn our attention to this area, and you're going to want to rock this hinge joint downwards so that we can allow for some clearance to compress these areas in, compress this top section in, rotate Lifeline, significantly improved head sculpt due to the amazing paint applications. However, we'll delve more into that later on. Of course you can remove the backpack, however I will show you how she looks with the backpack actually still attached. You're just going to want to align the tabs up with the slots. This is the more finicky aspect of the transformation, but just ensure that this here is tabbed in all nice and securely, and there on the opposite side, compress the backpack all the way down, and there we have the Earthrise Lifeline fully transformed up into her rather awesome looking robot mode. And so here we have Lifeline, just a direct repaint to that of RC, however in my opinion a figure that looks terrific with the new paint applications. Just bringing her in for a closer look so that we can appreciate some of the detailing. You can see that her head sculpt is exactly the same to that of RC's, as it really should be. However in my opinion has been painted so much more nicely. You can see that they've actually painted the faceplate here in an almost purple colour scheme. We do have the lips that have been painted there, which I think greatly amplifies the sculpt. These green highlights here for the helmet, as well as the really awesome blue eyes. All of the paint applications here for the torso have been applied exceptionally well, and you can see here that the arms have been moulded in the same green plastic that we saw in vehicle mode. As we turn down to the lower region, really nice sculpted in detailing and nice detailing all the way throughout the legs, and once again we do have the green hinge joints there for the knees and the green feet. In terms of articulation, her head here is on a swivel so it can rotate left to right. The arms here are on hinge joints so they can hinge forwards and backwards as well as out to the sides. Full 360-degree rotation there at the bicep, as well as a slightly over 90-degree bend there at the elbow. Due to to transformation, the wrists here can hinge back and forth, full 360-degree rotation there at the waist, the legs can kick forwards that far. We do also have a hinge joint here at the top of the thigh as well as a mid-thigh cut there, so that allows for a full 360-degree range of motion. Due to transformation, we do have a double jointed knee, so that allows us to get this figure into a fantastic pose. Really awesome range of motion there. And then finally for the feet, they can pivot forwards and backwards as well as rock side to side slightly. So in all, a really nice looking figure, and with the new paint applications, I definitely prefer this over that of the original RC figure. Just to quickly show you how she looks with the backpack attached, of course you can just remove it here and you're going to want to apply some pressure on this switch and it should just slide out really easily. And you can see that you can just disregard this, you can use it as her hoverboard or you can just leave it off to the side. And in all, a really awesome looking figure. So let's bring RC out for a comparison, and then of course we'll delve into the Earthrise Ratchet. And here for a very quick mold comparison in robot mode, you can see that Lifeline is painted so much better than compared here to RC. I think that the new paint applications that they have applied to Lifeline's head sculpt greatly amplifies the sculpt and really does make her look alive and not just plain and dead like we got here with RC. I do think that the mold is a really awesome looking mold. It just had to be painted in the correct way, and Lifeline here I definitely do believe is the better out of the two characters. But you can see that other than the face, they share all of the same paint applications. However, of course, the colours have been switched in order to match her appearance. So in all, a really awesome figure, and it's definitely a nice one to add to the collection. And so, of course, turning to the main event himself, here we have the Earthrise Ratchet. The reasoning behind why I believe this figure to be the main event of this set is because the original Siege Ratchet was incredibly difficult to actually find, and unfortunately, due to this figure here being an Amazon exclusive, it doesn't appear as if though this version of Ratchet is going to be any more easier to find than the original Siege version. But nonetheless, you can see that this is just a direct repaint to that of the Earthrise Ironhide, of which I'll bring out a comparison for later on in the review. However, I really do love the white and red paint applications that we do have here for Ratchet, and the transparent blue plastic I think works so much better than the clear plastic that we did get on Ironhide. You can see that the only new component that we do have here for vehicle mode is this light bar, as of course Ratchet is an ambulance. I think that the sculpting and detailing here all looks really nice. This whole design still looks as odd as ever, with this piece here being a completely blocked out molded in piece of plastic, whereas the rest of the window here is a translucent piece. However, it doesn't look too bad, especially with the really awesome transparent blue plastic. I think that the sculpt work here for the tyres are quite nice. It would have been nice if they would have remolded these and given us new sculpts, more Earth mode sculpts, as these to me definitely still look very alien and Cybertronian. As we turn here to the front, very nice detailing there. We've got the window wipers, the siren bar, as well as the Autobot insignia, which I think looks awesome. And then finally, as we turn here to the rear end of the vehicle, we unfortunately still do have the feet that stick out. However, that's something that I've just come to expect with this particular mold. But nonetheless, a really awesome looking figure. Of course, we can remove his blaster and just set that off to the side. So let's bring out some comparisons. And here for a Ratchet comparison, here we have the new Earthrise version compared to that of the incredibly elusive Siege version, and I do actually prefer the overall look here for the Earthrise version. I've always been a fan of realistic vehicles than compared to Cybertronian vehicles, which of course this one is, but you can see that there is still some really nice detailing with this release. Something which they have drastically improved here with the Earthrise release is that he is actually a white colour as opposed to this almost off-white that we get here with the Siege version. You can see that it's not completely white, it's almost this cream-like colour. However, with the Earthrise version, it's pure white, of course, to match his G1 appearance, and I much prefer this colour scheme here than compared to the colour scheme that we did get here with the Siege release. But just comparing them, you can see that in terms of scale, I would say that the Earthrise release is slightly shorter in terms of length and is of course slightly taller in terms of height, but still really awesome figures, and are two that I would definitely recommend tracking down if you can. And then here for a mold comparison, here we have Ratchet compared to that of Ironhide, and you can see that for the most part they are exactly the same here in vehicle mode. The only differences are of course the colour scheme and this light bar section. Something worth noting is that this is a completely new retooled piece. Initially I did just think that they would use the exact same piece that we got with Prow, however you can see that the actual port itself is now gone and it is just these two tabs here and here which remain. So this is a completely retooled piece here for Earthrise Ratchet, which I'm super glad to see. And I really do think that the colour scheme and the light bar here really does help to set Ratchet apart when compared here next to Ironhide. Of course, in the G1 series they were basically the exact same vehicles with minor differences, and I really do think that these figures here capture their appearance fantastically. Unfortunately, we do have the clear plastic here on Ironhide, which I wish had a slightly more blue tint to it like we got here with Ratchet. In terms of the paint applications, I do actually prefer the Ratchet over Ironhide, but nonetheless still really awesome figures and are incredibly substantial for Deluxes. So we'll get Ironhide out of the shot and then we'll delve into the transformation. And so turning to the transformation here for Ratchet is exactly the same to that of Earthrise Ironhide. So to begin with, you're just going to want to hinge this section back, hinge the windows here out to the sides, and I recommend starting here at the back and just wriggling this whole component off. Once again, the parts forming aspect is as present as ever with this release. However, that was something that I was expecting, so it's not too much of a shock to me, and quite honestly I don't think that it's too bad either. I do think that this creates for quite an awesome weapon when in robot mode. So just to quickly show you the detailing, you can see that we've got some amazing detail there. I think that all looks fantastic with the really awesome white paint applications. We of course just want to compress these and they do tab in really nice and securely. You're going to want to take this section here and lift this entire piece up, which will indeed reveal these blasters. Super nice paint applications on there, and in all quite a cool piece. Turning to the transformation here for Ratchet, however, you're going to want to pull these sections here off to the side, just split the legs and take these pieces and snap those into place. Very simplistic transformation. Take this, hinge that backwards, rotate this entire component all the way around, and this does actually tab into place, so you can see that it is incredibly loose and floppy. You're just going to want to take it and snap it in, and you can see that it is no longer wriggling around whatsoever. Once that's done, we can take the arms here, split those, and then just hinge those off to the side, allowing for a more natural look. Take the head, and you can see a tab and a port there, so you're just of course going to snap that into place, and then you can see two slots here and here that these tabs are going to indeed fill out. So just snap that into place nice and securely, and there we have Earthrise Ratchet fully transformed into his robot mode, and in my opinion looking pretty awesome. And so now taking a look here at Ratchet in his robot mode, I think that this is a really nice reuse of the original Earthrise Ironhide mold. I think that Ratchet here looks fantastic, and this is probably our best mainline release of him that we have gotten so far. It's very faithful to the original G1 counterpart, and is actually a really awesome and fun figure to mess around with. As we take a look here at the back, you can obviously see the similarities carried over from the original Siege Ironhide, as of course that figure did actually borrow some components such as the wheels and this area here. However, the main shell has been completely altered in order to give Ratchet here his Earth mode, and I think that he looks really cool. As we bring him in for a closer look, he does indeed have a completely brand new head sculpt, and I think that the detailing as well as the sculpt work on this looks fantastic. You can see that we do have the black painted crest there at the top, and I do think that his expression there looks quite cool as well, with the silver and blue paint apps for the faceplate and the eyes. We also do have some nice sculpted and detailing there for the side of the helmet as well as for the back. However, the rest of the body is just a direct carryover of that of Ironhide. It is merely just the paint applications that have of course been altered. However, I do think that this all looks really awesome. If I had any gripes with Ratchet here in robot mode, it would have been that I would have wished for them to have actually cast the hands here in a red plastic. However, they have opted to go with this grey plastic, which in my opinion doesn't look as great as it could have if it was red. But nonetheless, as stated, that is merely just a minor nitpick. You can see that all of the paint apps there for the shoulders have come out really nicely, and once again, this time using the more white colour scheme as opposed to the off-white that we got with the Siege version. I really do think that Ratchet has never looked better. As we take a look there at the thighs, the detailing is all really nice, and the panels there for the legs I think compress really nicely. So in all, quite a cool looking figure. In terms of articulation, the head here is on a ball joint. Due to it being a different sculpt, we do get a slightly greater range of motion than what we got with Ironhide, so we can tilt the head side to side as well as rotate it left to right, hinge it up and down. Full 360 rotation there at the arms as well as hinge joints out to the sides. Full 360 rotation at the bicep as well as a 90-degree bend there at the elbow. Full 360 rotation at the wrists. Full 360 rotation at the waist, and then hinge joints out to the sides, hinge joints out to the back, hinge joints out to the sides. Full 360 rotation at the thigh, a 90-degree bend there for the knee, and then finally we do have an amazing ankle rocker pivot which can of course rock side to side. So in terms of articulation, I think that Ratchet here is absolutely fantastic. Now to get into one of my major gripes with this set in general, is that seeing as these two characters, both Ratchet and Lifeline, are medics, you would have thought that Hasbro and Takara Tomy would have included some sort of medical set in order to accompany them, but they don't. All these figures do come with are the blasters, so we do get the same blaster that we got with Ironhide, none of the tools that we got with the original Siege version, so we unfortunately don't get the spanner nor the drill piece that the actual Siege version came with, which in my opinion is a real missed opportunity. It would have been fantastic to get some new accessories included within this set. However, nonetheless, if you do have the Siege version, I'm pretty sure that you can swap the accessories out to your own desire. And whilst on the topic of accessories, just bringing in this shield component, you can see here that we do have this very large peg. It's really up to your own personal preference on how you choose to display this. You can simply display it as a shield and peg it into the shoulder pad, and you can see that that does completely shield almost 85% of Ratchet's body, so it's is definitely going to be an incredibly effective shield against the Decepticons, or of course you can take it and actually port it into this port here and utilize it there as a weapon, which you can then rotate around and see there the barrel, which I think is quite awesome. So it's good that we do have some versatility, or of course you can open these sections out and actually utilize this as an almost ski board there for Ratchet, so you can use some of the ports here on the base and perhaps peg it in. However, in my opinion, I don't think that looks all that great, so I tend to either just display it as a shield or leave it off to the side. But with all that covered, we'll bring out Ironhide for a comparison, and then I'll give you some of my final thoughts of this set. And so now, turning here for some comparisons for the Earthrise Ratchet, you can see that when compared to his mold-mate Earthrise Ironhide, they are exactly the same with some minor exceptions, such as the head sculpt and of course the colour scheme. However, I really do think that these pair look fantastic, and with the slight altercations here to Ratchet, they definitely do match their on-screen G1 appearances. So fantastic figures here for the Earthrise line, just swapping Ironhide out here for the Siege Ratchet, just so that I can give you a comparison between these two. In my opinion, in terms of a personal preference, I do prefer the Earth mode. Even when in robot mode, I think that he looks so much more awesome than compared to the Siege version. Not to take anything away from this figure, I just drastically prefer the overall colour scheme that we get here with the Earthrise release, rather than this almost washed out white that we do get here with this Siege release. It really does make this figure appear as if though it has been exposed to too much sunlight. However, that is just the base colour of plastic that Hasbro did choose to use on this release, which I'm really unsure as to why, but nonetheless, I do definitely believe that this figure is superior. And so, some final thoughts here for the Transformers Earthrise Paradron Medic 2-pack. I actually really do like this set. I think that we have two fantastic repaints, and we finally can add an Earthrise Ratchet to our Earthrise collection. It was a really nice way for Hasbro to actually give us this figure. However, unfortunately, seeing as this set is once again going to be an exclusive, I'm pretty unsure as to how available this will actually be to collectors. Seeing as Ratchet is one of the core members of the Autobots, you really would think that he would be put into the main line, and that we could have perhaps got rid of a character such as Ironworks, as I'm pretty sure that many collectors would have rather had this figure in the first wave than as opposed to a character such as Ironworks. But with all that set aside, you can see here that Lifeline is a fantastic repaint. It's great to actually get a modern release of Lifeline here. Of course, just a repaint of RC, however, that is indeed accurate. My only main gripe with this set is that I wish that it would have come with some more medic-specific weapons, some spanners or perhaps some lasers. I think would have really complemented this set, or even just some drills. I just think that some new accessories definitely would have set this apart than other than just being basic repaints, and of course a new head where Ratchet is concerned. But with that criticism set to the side, I think Lifeline here looks fantastic. I do actually prefer her colour scheme than compared to that of RC, and as stated before, it's great to finally get an Earthrise Ratchet. So in all, if you can track this set down, I highly recommend that you do so. I really do hope that you enjoyed this review. If you did, please do let me know down in the comment section below. I would be really eager to know your thoughts on this set, and whether or not you will be adding it to the collection, and whether or not it is actually readily available to you, whether or not you can indeed actually find this. I know that Hasbro's distribution this year has been all over the place, with multiple exclusives really alienating some collectors, and that is something that I definitely hope that they rectify for some of the future lines, such as the Transformers Kingdom. I thank you all for watching this review, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching. And for those of you who stick around right to the end of the video, I thank you so much for doing so. And to reward you, here I have some bonus footage. So you can see here that we have a lovely comparison between the Earthrise Ratchet next to some of the core Autobot members such as Bumblebee, RC, Ironhide, Optimus Prime and Sunstreaker, and I think that he looks fantastic. Also, for those of you wondering how Ratchet actually looks with some of the Siege Ratchet weapons applied, he does actually look awesome. So you can see that with this figure we did get this drill-like piece as well as the spanner, and just to show you how he looks whilst wielding these, I think that they're really awesome weapons, and if you do have the Siege Ratchet, I would definitely recommend to utilise these weapons with this figure. We can also take this component here and port that into the back. The colour doesn't quite match, as of course we have this off-white plastic as opposed to the really pure white that we do get with the Earthrise Ratchet. However, if you just have this whole assembly over Ratchet's back, I don't think that it looks too out of place whatsoever, and in my opinion just really adds some character to this release and makes him appear more like a medic than what we got with the standard release. So that is just some small bonus footage for those of you who did stick around to the end of the review. I once again thank you all for watching, and until my next review, I'll see you then.